Good evening, everyone. My name is Bernali Quintia. I will be the secretary of the library board, and I'll be presiding over the meeting tonight. Our president, Matt Topic, is unable to be with us in person due to business travel. So he is participating electronically. He's here on this handy dandy phone. And I will call this meeting to order at 7:02. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Caitlin, can we start with a roll call?
Yes. Trustee Gagani?
Here.
Trustee Humphreys?
Here.
Trustee Guntia?
Here.
Trustee Williams?
Here.
And President Topic is on the phone remotely.
I am here remotely.
All right. On to the consent agenda. This is our only action item tonight. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. So we have a first from Trustee Humphreys and a second from Trustee Gagani. Thank you all. Are we ready to vote? Caitlin?
Trustee Gagani?
Yes.
Trustee Humphreys?
Yes.
Trustee Guntia?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
All right. The motion carries. All right. On to public comment. Please direct your comments to the board. Limit your remarks to 3 minutes with a 5-minute maximum. Limit repetitive comments and have one person speak if you're part of a group. Do we have any public comments? No? All right. Thank you. Now we are on to trustee comments. We are going to start with the library director search update. So Swapna, do you want to start us on that?
Sure. So first of all, thank you to the board and to the staff and everyone for meeting with Digers and Todd last month. We got a lot of things accomplished. So basically the update as of today is that we have officially 11 applicants already. That's not counting those from Indeed.com. The ad was officially posted on December 3rd, I think officially. And it was posted to the, excuse me, ALA, ILA, the Indiana Library Federation, Rails, Heartland Library System, and as I said earlier, on Indeed as well. So the next phase will be kind of going through all of those initial applications and then conducting phone interviews with qualified applicants the week of January 5th. And then we'll go from there. So I think the large issue and item of discussion with the board is just how we want to treat internal candidates. And I think that was, the discussion was started, if I understand correctly, in November. So we do need to kind of shore out that decision prior to January 5th. So I don't know if anyone wants to open up with their thoughts or if you want me to start.
Does anyone want to start?
Looked like Dave was going to say something.
Dave, do you want to?
We're just like,
Either that or he was speechless.
I emailed my comments, trying to remember them. Basically, I felt that if we do include, first of all, we have agreed with the consultant that we will have 4 to 6 finalists. If we have internal candidates automatically on that list, we may be excluding other candidates who would otherwise be qualified, and therefore we might leave a more qualified candidate behind, if you follow that. Secondly, I feel that if an internal candidate has the qualifications and trying to think this through, if they have the qualifications, they'll be, better than other candidates. They'll be in the top finalists anyway. And therefore, and I had another one, but it perhaps will come to me, but I do feel that we should give an equal opportunity to internal candidates as external candidates for that reason.
otherwise we're doing that.
He said it's harder for him to hear, I think, when it's far away.
Hi, Matt. I share Dave's concerns, and I think as a matter of fairness and equity, that it would be best to treat all candidates the same, judge them on their merits, and I think we have a strong staff, so depending on who applies, theoretically there could be staff members that warrant being among the 4 to 6 that get second round of interviews, but I think they should achieve that on their own merits. I think one of the arguments for allowing for internal candidates to have a bye, to use a sort of sports metaphor, is that it gives them, and at that, another sports metaphor, different sport, such that their internal growth and their potential to take a leadership position at this organization or another organization is fostered by the library itself. I think there may be other ways to achieve that end. Mentorship is an example. And so that alone does not persuade me. So given concerns about fairness and given that I think the objective is not sort of solely achieved through this means, but I think it would be best to treat everyone the same. And frankly, if an internal candidate gets hired, I would like them to think of themselves as having achieved it based on their own success. And I mean, we're having a public discussion about this. They're going to find out what our process is. So I think it also shows a respect for them. Those are my thoughts. Matt, handing you over to someone else.
No, you can.
I also responded via email on my opinion. I agree. For me, it's an equity issue, and I want all candidates to be treated the same, whether they're internal or external. And I think there's going to be a natural bias anyway for an internal candidate because we know them and they know who we are. So I think I like that, Nathan, you brought up that they themselves would want to prove that they should be a candidate. I think that an internal candidate will rise naturally to that 4 to 6. So I think I called it in my email a fast pass, like Disney. And I don't think that we should be giving fast passes to anyone. So that's my opinion.
Okay. I wanted to echo everyone's sentiments, and I think that this is such a strong library. I think they would be inclined to stand out anyway, just given the opportunities that are existent here. But I think just given the fact that we are casting such a wide net, the idea of then cutting back on that wide net to give someone a fast pass or whatever you want to buy kind of takes away from the search process. So I did also want to just mention that I did ask our search firm, what the common process is, and they said it's pretty much split 50-50. Essentially said the downside is that it could take up an interview spot that might have gone to someone else, and it means every internal candidate gets the same chance, even if their interest comes as a surprise, and maybe if they weren't even inclined to be qualified. So I guess and then Matt, I'm sorry, I forgot you're here, so you can go ahead.
That's okay. I mean, I share all those views. I think that given this particular position and given the process involved in the substantial amount of board time involved and the limited number of interviews, I don't think that we should give an automatic pass into the round of 4 to 6 people for people who are internal candidates. I do think that experience at our library is something worth considering and evaluating those candidates, but I think we are all saying the same thing.
Perfect. Oh, Dave.
I found my email. I want to make a couple more quick points. So it sounds like we're pretty much in agreement here, but I also feel that this is a bit of an equity issue because the intent of equity is to eliminate either intentional or unintentional biases. And quite frankly, as a trustee, I personally don't feel that I know any staff members who might be applying well enough to know how they would perform as a director. We know how they perform as a staff member. And the fact that we do give this advantage to internal candidates when we're hiring staff positions within the library, I don't believe that applies to this, because in that case, you're talking about they're applying to Julie, the director, or to a line staff member, and it is their job to know all of the internal candidates and how they perform in their job. That is not the job of a trustee, but it is the job of a line manager, and so I don't think that applies. So.
All right, so it sounds like we're all on the same page in terms of just treating internal candidates equitably and having them proceed through the process like every other candidate. Is that correct? Okay, so I will communicate that to our search firm, and I believe that's the only update I have. Does anyone have any questions that I can take back to them, or? Yeah.
I have one. We had asked Siders and Todd about a rubric, and they had said they don't use a rubric, which I have my own feelings about. But in saying that, I feel like, should we have something, or should we create our own, or should we each individually? I feel like we're going to be interviewing people, and we are measuring them against our job description. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to think, if we should each have our own individual, I know we talked about what our priorities are as individuals and as a board, but I'm wondering if there's some way that we should kind of have a system that's set up amongst ourselves, at least when we're going through this process of how we measure does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because I think we have something like that for, our evaluation for Julie. And,
right.
Yeah.
Right. We have something to measure against.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. We have agreed that, to be fair and to be equitable, we're going to, as we're interviewing candidates, we're going to ask them all the same questions. But ultimately, we as a group are going to get down to a very small number of candidates, and we're going to be discussing among ourselves. And at that point, we might want to have some sort of a rubric which we maybe have defined in advance, but certainly we define at the event when we're making that final decision. We will have asked them all the same questions, but of course at times we will have additional questions that come up, sub-questions during the interview process, and we can include those answers in the rubric, if you want to understand, if you want to call it that, in the final discussions.
Yeah, and I think a rubric would certainly add structure to our discussion as well. So.
I agree. At minimum, I think we should have our own rubric, and that should guide our decision-making at the second interview stage. And my view is that rather than individual rubrics, that we collectively have one. I think just the exercise of brainstorming around that, we did a little bit of that when we met DNT last meeting. And I found other people's insights into what they were looking for in a library director, and even sort of the survey that we got from the public, to be informative on my own views on that. And I think also if we had a standard structure for a framework for all of us, that maybe as we're deliberating on this, we sort of have, it's like jury instructions, it gives us some context for talking in the same language with one another.
Matt, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, thank you. So I think Diders and Todd we've given them sort of ideas of what our priorities are, right? So maybe that's the starting point, is just if they haven't already sort of synthesized that into a document, that, to me that might suffice to just sort of have in mind as we're doing the interviews and evaluating candidates is sort of going back to what the priorities were that we said we were looking for. But certainly, I'm open to having something more like a rubric on top of that. I would think that's probably, I guess it'd be important for both stages of the interviews, but I think when we get to the final two, obviously those priorities are all important, but I think maybe it's a bigger deal in the, the round of 4 to 6, but I don't have strong feelings in that.
Okay. Yeah, Dave.
I was going to make one other comment, and I'm not an HR person, but I have been involved in interviewing candidates for positions, and in the discussions I've had with others who have done that, when you prepare a rubric, there's usually a number 10, or the last item on the rubric is what, for want of a better term, and I don't think this is an HR term, but it's something called the X factor. This is a factor of someone, when you're interviewing someone, you may not be able to put everything into words, but there is a strongly well thought out, intuitive feeling that helps you make a decision between candidates. And I would want to be sure to include that in any discussions. I have been in situations where there's a rubric where every candidate gets ranked on a certain number of things, and you add up the points at the end, and that's how you make your decision, and I am not in favor of that.
I don't think any of us are in favor of
So,
that.
okay.
Agreed.
All right. Well, I will circle back with D&T and then see what I can come up with. Be my first rubric writing experience, but yeah.
Okay. Do we have any comments on things besides the hiring search?
Any trustee comments?
Yes, trustee comments. You want to go first, Dave?
Got a couple.
Okay.
Nothing controversial here. One is, I think that I was amazed at, considering the weather on the day after Thanksgiving, that we had 668 kids and their parents and caregivers and so forth show up at the library for the day after Thanksgiving children's parade and tree lighting ceremony. 668, which is right in line with when we've done this before when we had perfect weather. So I think our parents and kids are very hardy. The only other point I wanted to make, and this came to mind this afternoon as I was reviewing tonight's agenda, we've talked quite a bit over last couple of years about the fact that publishers charge libraries considerably more for digital licenses for books than they do for hard copy books. And there may be some justifications for that, but the justifications all fall on the wrong side as far as the libraries are concerned, is what I'm trying to say. What it boils down to is that the average circulation for a book costs about 3 times, at least, as much for a digital book as it does for a hard copy book. And in the future, that's not sustainable because the number of digital circulations is rising rapidly, and conversely, the other is decreasing. And so something has to give here, or libraries are going to be priced out of the market. And so what can we do about that? We just have to pay attention, and we have to talk with our legislatures, because the ILA, the Illinois Library Association, is proposing some possible state legislation in this area. Won't get into detail on this, we won't expect to have a long discussion on this, but please just be aware. I think most of us are very much aware, but continue to pay attention and continue to support the ILA when they're talking to state legislators.
Nathan?
Thank you. Secretary. Good deal. Appreciate that. I'll start with saying that this is the season of gratitude, and with that in mind, I'd like to have a few thoughts, thank yous directed towards some people. First, I'd like to thank the Village Council for entrusting us to go through this important process of selecting a new library director. I viewed continuity amongst the trustees as paramount during this period, and I articulated that to them, and it appears that they have found that as compelling. And in that regard, I thank Dave for staying on board and helping guide the ship through this process. I thank Swapna for leading our director search. And I thank Barnali for presiding today. I thank Matt for attending, even though he has a business trip, attending virtually. And then finally, I thank staff for being open the day before Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving, because I was here both of those days. And so I definitely appreciated and smiled, and I'm grateful that other people are working on a day that I get rest. Next thing. The library is celebrating someone's 250th birthday. She was born on December 16th, 1775. Her name is Jane Austen, a writer that I read once, and my wife has read hundreds of times. I asked her what her favorite quote was, and she said something that was, I don't know the quote offhand, but it was essentially the first lines, opening lines of Pride and Prejudice. I said, you have to pick them. I mean, you're an English professor, you should know a different quote. Anyway, she wasn't amused. So the library on December 21st is celebrating by having a tea party. So please attend, it's a Sunday. Obviously, you don't want to take time away from family, so bring the kids. And then last thing, because I do things in threes, I'd be interested in eventual legislative or regulatory update on two topics. One, federal funding of libraries. My understanding there might be a change of status there. And then secondly, there's been a new state law enacted related to and restricting ICE enforcement activities in certain public spaces. I don't know whether that applies to libraries. I read sort of a summary of the initial bill, sort of at the House level, so lower chamber, and I thought it did cover libraries, but I could be wrong. I'm wrong about many things. So I would be interested in finding that out later, obviously not to put anyone on the spot. Thank you.
I have no comments.
Matt, do you have any comments?
I do not have any comments.
Okay, I will go very briefly. First, I also want to say thank you to, this morning I got a call that my older daughter was being rushed to the emergency room. Her roommate called me. I was in panic mode. Talked to Swapna and Nathan, who both talked me off a cliff, talked to Julie, and I was like ready to jump on a plane, and thankfully she's fine. She is, just had a momentary thing happen and she's okay, but I appreciate my fellow trustees. The support that I got today was really amazing, so thank you both. Thank you, Julie. Julie and I were able to attend the ILA legislative meetup last week, and the thing that really struck me was how far, one, the fact that everyone knows our library, and everyone knows Julie, and she is so beyond well respected. Everyone wants to, it's like she's a superstar walking in the room. And it's cool to be with the superstar. That's kind of like, I was like, can I hold your bag? I don't know, can I do something for you? But what really struck me was the things that they were talking about are things that we're already doing. And we're doing on we started that path already. One of the big things was trustees, mandatory trustee training. And Caitlin is already working on onboarding to have trustees go through not just the training that we already do, but adding on to that training so that we can be the best trustees that we can be to be the best trustees for our library. The other thing was talking about the ADA compliance. There were people there who were just starting to work on it. And that's something that was brought to our attention almost 2 years ago. This is coming down the pipeline. In 2026, we have to be ready by this date. Other libraries are just now realizing that they need to start getting ready. But it's a due date. It's not like start working on this in April. It's in April you need to be compliant, and we're there. Like, we're getting there. People are working. The staff is on it. Changes are being made. So it was just really, it's one of those moments that we as trustees, sometimes you don't know what's happening on a day-to-day basis and what the staff is doing, but it was just a really nice to see. And I think I wrote in my notes, oh my gosh, Julie, we are so far ahead of everyone else. And then the last thing is, I think this Tuesday, and Julie will have to tell me the numbers, we had one of the largest story time. It was like some Tuesday afternoon.
Tuesday morning, one of the largest story time since this round started, and there were over 80 people in the room again.
Wow. So,
and that is happening on a regular basis with us. So kudos to the kids' room.
yeah. So that's all I have.
Where do you put them all?
Thankfully, a bunch of them are small.
Okay, next we're on to the library director's report. Julie?
All right. You have my written report. We did get our renewal for the LIRA insurance package. That is the library insurance liability package, property, cyber liability, volunteers, the whole shebang on everything except the people. Or I should say staff benefits side. And that came in at 4.5%, which is fantastic because we had budgeted for a 10% increase. So, yay!
It's phenomenal.
And being that is one of our higher bills for the year, that is fantastic. I have really enjoyed serving on the LIRA board for many years, and it has been a great honor to get that pool up and off the ground. My former library, we were one of the founding members, and so it's going great guns. There's some other information in your packet about, no, I've lost it. Anyway.
Let me interrupt for just a second about LIRA. I've been on the board for a while, and I remember when LIRA happened and what we went through before LIRA, how we had to go to insurance agencies and get their rates, and 4 point anything is much lower than almost anything I remember prior to LIRA. And so I think LIRA, it was not only a great idea, it is a huge benefit to Downers Grove Public Library.
And a huge benefit to many libraries throughout the state of Illinois. One of the other things in my librarian's report this time is about the PC replacement purchase. We've talked about that a couple of times. That will be coming to you in January. Unfortunately, we were really trying to get it on this agenda, but unfortunately, due to various illnesses and other time constraints, we just could not make it happen in time for this. But we do anticipate asking the board for a substantial amount of money to come from the library capital replacement fund. Somewhere in the range of $65,000 to $85,000 is anticipated. That will be more than 60 new computers plus monitors, peripherals, some other little odds and ends. But so look for that coming in January. And other than that, we are just plugging right along here. Things are going really well. Business office is doing all the year-end stuff. They're the busiest. Everybody's trying to get in all their PTO before the end of the year. So we just want to say happy holidays to everyone, and thank you so much for supporting the library.
Okay. New business, we don't have any. Unfinished business, we don't have any. We also do not have an executive session today. So can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn this meeting. So we'll adjourn, and thank you all for coming. Happy holidays. We'll see you in 2026.
Oh.
Look at this.